up here, then we can circle around back and do the recommendations at that point. But we've got first up, Department of Administration. Stephen, if you want to fill us in on it.
Sure. Stephen Wu, Legislative Research. Behind me is Frank Burnham, the Deputy Secretary of Operations, as well as the Director of the Office of Financial Properties and Management. The committee has questions. They'll be able to speak more towards the operational details, but I'm hoping not, because the budget should be fairly straightforward and simple. I included a lot of information, a handful of information in this document you have in front of you. What I want to emphasize is that in terms of the 26 and 27 budget, there aren't any new projects here. You'll see some expenditures from previous years carrying over into these years, but otherwise, no new projects. So just as a high-level overview, the Department of Administration maintains a number of buildings across the Capitol complex. I've listed them at the top up here. The department also pays the debt service on a number of bonds. They're just the entity that pays the bills on those. If you flip to page 2, you can see a summary of these capital improvement projects. I have them listed out here, numbers 1 through 6. 1 and 2 are the only ones that you will see in the budgets that you will be voting on when they hit the floor. They involve rehab and repair expenditures. These are fairly normal year to year, and they involve remaining expenditures for the Docking State Office building. Neither of these are new items. They're carryovers from last year in the case of docking, and then for rehab and repair, it's the usual appropriation they get year to year, about $5 million. I've included some details on these continuing projects. Number 1 is on the rehab and repair, and number 2 is on docking on the back page. Everything else other than that are projects that have already been completed. So I'd be happy to answer questions on any of those, but otherwise I'm not going to go into any of them on detail. Unless the committee has any questions, I would turn it over either to the agency if the committee has questions for them, or to the next report.
Thank you, Stephen. Committee, any questions for Stephen while he's here? All right. Thank you, sir. So who's here speaking for Department of Administration? I don't have a name on it.
Frank Burnham is here with the department. I've been informed that he doesn't have any remarks to make, okay, but if the committee has questions, I would.
All right. Well, committee, any questions directly for Department of Administration? Not seeing any, then we thank you for being here. You want to keep going or you want to take it? Okay, well, let's go ahead and run through this. We do have some people out there waiting because of the recommendations. So I don't know if we want to keep them hanging. And I skipped over that because we don't have a quorum yet, so we can't do them.
We've got a couple people up in Ways and Means yet, so they should be, so we don't have a quorum. We're just going to have to keep going then.
No, that's fine. And once they pile in, then we can do the recommendations. Okay. Next with Jenny, Kansas School for the Blind. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. We're going to start for me with School for the Blind. Just as with Stephen's document, we have the overview page on the front with the 24 actuals, 25, 26, and 27. Page 2 has a breakout for the capital improvements by project. I want to draw your attention on this table to items 1 through 5. Those are the items that either are new for fiscal year 2027 or are continuing programs that will be continuing through 2027. The items below that either have been previously heard and approved by the legislature or are for fiscal years 24 and 25. Regarding these capital improvement projects, item number 1 is the Edlin Dorm and Dining Hall roof for just over $718,000. And this is to replace the roof of the Edlin Dormitory and their adjacent dining hall building in fiscal year 2027. The agency states that the roof is over 30 years old and is suffering leaks and related damages. Item number 2 is in regards to a base increase for their rehab and repair projects. This is an additional $87,000, all from SIBF, to increase their capital improvements, rehab, and repair. So this would be an ongoing request and would roll into their base in '28. And then, as far as continuing projects, they have the three main areas where they have projects: the rehab and repair, the HVAC maintenance and repair, and the safety and security systems, of which they're requesting continued funding for fiscal year 2027. I'm happy to discuss any of these in more detail or just stand for questions in general.
All right, thank you, Jenny. Questions for Jenny? Not seeing any. Or did you have one? Go ahead, Mr. Osley.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. And I think it relevant to the conversation today to note that the K-12 Budget Committee has what they've approved and then what has already been adopted by the Appropriations Committee in the House. And if I recall correctly, that's a lot of these, if not every single one of them. Can you check my math, Jenny?
Mr. Chair, I do have that information not up here right this second, so I'm happy to go ahead and, if you give me a second, to grab my laptop.
Absolutely.
And I only ask that committee because on the next report out there is an item I'd like to propose for this committee's consideration.
Absolutely. We'll give her just a second to look that up.
So, Mr. Chair, for the Kansas State School for the Blind, the Budget Committee did include both the capital improvements, rehab, and repair base increase, and then the Edlin Dorm dining hall roof replacement. They also did approve the continuing projects as they stood, so all 5 items that were mentioned were included in the House Budget Committee. The Senate Policy Committee has also met, and they only included the Edlin Dorm dining hall roof replacement. They did not include the base increase.
Okay. Mr. Osley, did you have any questions for her?
I would just add that there were members of the K-12 committee that visited the school, and when they came back, these were pretty strongly recommended.
All right. Any further questions then? Thank you, Jenny. Diane, you're up again.
I am indeed. The next one is the Kansas State School for the Deaf. So with this agency, again, looking at page 2, the new items for fiscal year 2027 and the continuing items for both fiscal year 2026 and 27 are items 1 through 6 on that top capital improvements project. So the items for this, the enhancement requests for this agency include $1.8 million for the demolition of a powerhouse structure. This is the last stage of the capital improvements project to decommission all electrical, steam, and related utilities from this building. And the removal of this building will allow for the alignment of an entrance to the school and more on-campus parking, and eliminate the ongoing maintenance, security, and liabilities expenses related to that. Item number 2 is the Emory Elementary dorm and roof replacement. So the agency is requesting $1.2 million in fiscal year 2027, and then we'll be coming back for $300,000 for fiscal year 2028 to cover the roof replacement as well as the glass roof section of the atrium. Item 3 is the increase for the rehab and repair for this agency as well. For this agency, that's just over $129,000, all from SIBF. And then items 4, 5, and 6 are the continuing ongoing projects for rehab and repair, HVAC maintenance, and the safety and security systems. The House Budget Committee went ahead and approved $600,000 for the Emory Elementary dorm remodel and the base increase, so that'd be items 2 and 3 on your list. And then the Senate Policy Committee included the demolition of the powerhouse structure and the entirety of the amount for the Emory Elementary dorm replacement. With that, Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to stand for questions.
All right, that answered a few of my questions right there. So committee, any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Osley.
And maybe not so much a question, but just the testimony that we heard in K-12 for the demolition of the powerhouse and the dorm roof replacement. The dorm roof replacement was definitely necessary as they were not able to house students in there at the current time. And the demolition of the powerhouse structure was, it's not going to be necessary anymore, but we're still going to have to maintain it. I can look and see if I can find a fiscal note that the superintendent emailed the committee a while later because they need the parking now. They've asked not to be responsible for this building, and it makes sense to me. Raising a building is not going to get, more affordable over the next few years. I don't project to just go ahead and knock this down. And there was bipartisan support in the committee for it. We just deemed that we were going to let this committee take a crack at it first. So when the time comes, if I may make that motion, and just wanted to put that out there for the committee's information.
Okay, I appreciate that comment and the suggestions. Marcy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm not sure actually if this is for the School of the Deaf or the School of the Blind, but I understand that they had or want to have equipment that will lower an individual into the swimming pool. And there may either have needed construction or needed repair. It's not a particularly expensive item. They may have been talking about $3,000, but there was only one company that was able to provide that service. And with that, they couldn't get the 3 bids. So I would be interested in having a proviso that would make an exception to the requirement to have 3 bids for construction or repair of that equipment that would lower students into the pool, not to exceed $5,000.
Okay, duly noted. Mr. Osley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, but also out of the recommendation that's made its way through the House process was language to allow the School for the Deaf and the School for the Blind to not go through the bidding process that agencies are currently bound by statute, but to allow them the flexibilities that our USDs have. And I think that that would be covered underneath that language as well. And again, Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong.
So, Mr. Chair, there is language that has made it through on the House side that deals with procurement for both schools. Whether or not the pool itself, the elevator that was being discussed, is one of those I would defer to the revisers as far as the language, if that would cover part of it as well. But there is the procurement language which would move them to be able to use school district procurement instead of agency procurement procedures.
Further discussion? Would the revisers have any comments on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. David Weiss with the Revisor's Office. Without having seen the exact language that was adopted by the K-12, I wouldn't want to comment on the particulars of the pool elevator, but I mean, I think that would probably be the idea would be that those kind of capital improvements would also be part of that.
Yeah.
But like I said, without seeing it, I wouldn't want to.
All right, further discussion? Ms. Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With that, it might make sense to adopt that same language And then if we find out more, that's something that I would be happy to talk about on the floor, or I know Representative Polskin is very familiar with that issue.
All right. Any more discussion on it? Very good. Thank you to both of you. That was some good input there. So, and I do want the records or notes to show that we do have a quorum at this point. So let's move on with Department of Labor. Edgar Klein. Welcome to the committee.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Edgar Klein. I'm a fiscal analyst with KLRD. Today I'll be presenting the capital improvement report for the Department of Labor. First, I'll start off with a quick overview of what the buildings the agency owns. The Kansas Department of Labor owns and maintains 4 properties in Topeka. Its capital improvements revolve around these 4 offices: the 401 South Topeka Boulevard, 1309 South Topeka Boulevard, and the Eastman Building. In addition to regular maintenance and repair work, the agency is also in the process of ongoing renovations for those buildings. The agency also does not own any property outside of Topeka, but it does lease space in Garden City, Lenexa, Salina, and Wichita. Looking at the table below, the agency submits a revised estimate of $1.2 million, including $696,000 SGF in capital improvement expenditures for fiscal year 2026. This is the exact amount approved by the 2025 legislature in fiscal year 2026. Furthermore, the agency requests $1.2 million, including $696,000 SGF in capital improvement expenditures for fiscal year 2027. This funding is primarily for 5 projects: a roof replacement, $600,000, land purchase, $200,000, rehab and repair, $250,000, and replacement of concrete steps, $60,000, and sealing a parking lot, $50,000. Turning to page 3, I'll start with the details regarding the roof replacement. The agency requests $600,000, including $360,000 of which SGF, for the roof replacement at 2650 East Circle Drive South for fiscal year 2027. The agency states that the roof was partially replaced in spring of 2023 due to deterioration of a portion of the roof from tree damage. The roof is 20,000 square feet. Next, the next item the agency is requesting for is a land purchase for a new parking lot at the same Eastman building. The agency is requesting $200,000, including $120,000, which is SGF. The agency states there is not enough parking for the increased staffing efficiency gained through the renovations. There is land adjacent to this location that is currently for sale that the agency would like to buy to allow KDOL to expand its current parking area. The existing building on the additional plot of land will need to be demolished, and the parking lot will need to be designed and constructed. I would also like to point out that the $310,000 that the project, $310,000 of this project was already approved by the legislature, so the decision before you today is for the extra $200,000. Turning to page 4, the agency requests $60,000, including $36,000 SGF for the repair and replacement of the concrete steps and handrails at 401 and 1309 Southwest Topeka Boulevard for fiscal year 2027. The agency states that these items have been repaired several times over the years, with the repairs becoming more expensive with age. The agency believes that the stairs and railings are still safe. However, they want to mitigate future safety concerns. Additionally, the agency requests $50,000, including $30,000 of which SGF, to seal coat all their parking lots in fiscal year 2027. This includes parking lot at 401 Southwest Topeka Boulevard, which is 8,500 square yards, the 1309 Southwest Topeka Boulevard, and 2650 East Circle Drive, all of which are 4,400 and 6,500 square yards respectively. Continuing projects for the agency start on page 5 and 6. These include the HVAC replacement, entry door replacement, general rehab and repair. The remainder of the report contains past projects, which I will not go over for the sake of time. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll stand for questions. The agency representatives are also in attendance behind me today.
You bet. Thank you, Edgar. Any questions for Department of Labor? Go ahead, Ms. Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is just so I can keep track of things, but the executive summary talks about owning and maintaining 4 properties and then just lists the three that are focused on the major capital improvements. What is the fourth?
Mr. Chair, I think that's a typo. I'll double check on that, though.
Thank you. I understand there's just three. Thank you.
All right, further discussion? Not seeing any. Is that something you want to just follow up with us on another time? Okay. So we'll close the hearing on Department of Labor, and let's do State Historical Society with Edgar again.
All right, I'll be presenting the Kansas State Historical Society Capital Improvement Report. For some context, the agency has 50 buildings and structures across 17 state historic sites that their agency is responsible for. Going into the table, the agency submits a revised estimate of $586,000 in capital improvement expenditures in fiscal year 2026, including $386,000 in SGF. This is an increase of $11,000 above the amount approved by the 2025 legislature for fiscal year 2026. This increase from the approved budget is due to the reappropriation of that $11,000 for the Museum of History Air Unit Chiller. Furthermore, the agency requests $1.8 million in capital improvements for fiscal year 2027, including $1.4 million SGF. This funding is primarily budgeted for 3 enhancement requests and 1 reoccurring request. The Shawnee Indian Mission West Building rehab, $625,000. State Archives high-density storage updates, $341,000. The Grinter Historic Site, $200,000. And a reoccurring request for rehab and repair projects, $625,000. Starting with the high-density storage shelves, the agency submits an enhancement request of $341,000 for new motors and controls for the historical records shelving system for fiscal year 2027. The shelves were put in 1995, which is older than me, believe it or not. The the proprietary shelving drive system and controls are at the end of their life and failing frequently. When this occurs, the shelves are stuck closed and patron requests cannot be accommodated. Currently, a temporary override battery pack can be utilized to restore movement, but a system overhaul with new motors and controls is required to ensure regular and continued operation. Turning to page 3, the agency submits an enhancement request of $200,000 SGF for a new parking lot at the Grinter Historic Site. The existing ADA parking area and adjacent parking field has exceeded its life and is now requiring replacement to maintain a handicapped and visitor access to the Grinter Historic House. For item 3, the agency submits an enhancement request of $625,000, including $206,000 SGF, $106,000 in private gifts and grants, and a matching federal grant of $312,000 to restore the Shawnee Indian Mission West Building for fiscal year 2027. These funds will be used for interior finishes, mechanical system replacements, electrical system-based repairs, and service, exterior painting, and the ADA access to the lower level. Turning to page 4, you'll find continuing projects, including a museum air unit chillers replacement and general rehab and repair of the buildings and historic sites. Beyond this, you may find the agency prior projects on pages 5 and 6. The agency has submitted written testimony which goes into greater detail on some of these projects. Mr. Chair, with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions. The agency representatives are also behind me today.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Any questions on the State Historical Society? Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So looking at page 4, rehab and repair, 2026 looks like there's about $375,000 for rehab and repair. The years prior to that were pretty similar, and then jumps to $625 and then $750. Says down below it's due to inflation. Inflation's high, but not 100%. Is there a reason for that?
Mr. Chair, the agency gave me the reason of inflationary costs. There, I imagine, are some other costs attributed to that, but I don't have that information in front of me. I can get back to you with that.
Any further questions? Okay, Ms. Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just comment that I know that I have been looking at the budgets for repair and renovation, and the State Historical Society had more buildings to keep up with than the repair and rehabilitation fund covered. So I think it was a decision of the legislature to substantially increase that for the coming years.
So it's not just inflation, it's additional responsibility. Okay. Further discussion? All right, not seeing any. Thank you for being here. And with that, we'll hand the gavel over to our new chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, filling in and getting us going here today. And did we mention a thank you for the food today?
We have not.
Okay, well, we're just going to go ahead and do that real quick. The lunch was provided by Michael O'Donnell today, so thank you for them. And then I think committee will go ahead and get a motion to approve the January 21 minutes. If everybody had time to look those over. That would have been 2 meetings ago. Go ahead, Vice Chair.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 21st.
We got a second? Perfect. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, January 21 minutes approved for State Building Construction Committee as presented. Thank you. Okay, committee, we're going to go ahead and go into the recommendations, and just a reminder that the last meeting, our friends in the House were not here, and I think there were 4 senators that were here because you guys are on the floor. I know Senator Owens is on on his way, excuse me, but we're going to start with the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. And I don't know if you guys have had time to look at these reports, but go ahead, Mr.
Yeah, just
Vice Chair.
a comment or a question. We were stuck on the House floor last time. I don't know about the others. I do not have any documentation for what happened in that meeting. We've got the minutes, but we do not have the, what are we going to call this?
Yeah, the summary reports, but actually the minutes were for the previous one. I don't think we have the minutes for that unless I'm missing.
Passed out now. Thank you.
Okay, committee, I'll give you a minute for you guys. If you have any comments or questions for Kyle, otherwise we'll proceed with a motion. Okay, well, with that, then I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to recommend the KBI CIR as submitted.
And I will second.
Okay, Vice Chair seconds that. Any discussion? Okay, well then, with that, we will go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of the Kansas Bureau of Investigation Capital Improvement Report as submitted?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, well, motion passes then. Perfect. Maybe I'll give you a little bit of time here to look over the Adjutant General's Department, CIR. Just kind of comment as you're looking, we did have quite a few projects in this one. And I do believe when I was talking with the vice chair, going through these, there was a question you may have had. I had a little note there. If you want to do that now, or we can do the motion. Okay, well, no questions for Kyle? Well, with that, then I'll go ahead and make a motion to recommend the Adjutant General's CIR for year 26 and 27 as submitted. If I can get a second.
I'd second.
Thank you on that. And any discussion or more questions? Okay, yes, go ahead.
Oh, and I don't know if anybody's in here with the answer on or not. Page 2, very bottom, is talking about 2 megawatt microgrid at Forbes Field, maintain power to critical loads, including a 500 kilowatt photovoltaic array. So I assume that's all, is it backup power? Is it a behind the grid type of power in order to bypass Evergy? What are we looking for?
Mr. Chairman, so the URSIP projects are a series of projects that are a collaboration between Department of Defense and Department of Energy for isolating as a segregated backup in case of emergencies that take down the normal grid.
Backup power then. Okay, no issue. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we had a motion, had a second, and so all in favor to accept the motion? Aye. All opposed? Okay. Motion passes. And I was just thinking back, I wonder if I included FY 26 and 27 in the earlier motion, because I didn't have it written there. I don't think I did. Do we need to do something with that? As submitted, so that'll work, okay. For both years, perfect. Okay, committee, we're gonna go to Kansas Department of Transportation. And those are being passed out. Quite a number of projects there. We had a really good discussion on this. Surplus building, wash buildings, construction in Great Bend, some continuing projects, roofs. So I'll give you a minute there. If there's any questions for Kyle. Doesn't appear to be, okay. Well, with that, committee, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to recommend the Kansas Department of Transportation CIR for year 26 and 27 as submitted by the agency. If I can get a second. Got a second, and then any discussion? Yes, Vice Chair.
Just a question.
So I believe there is a rest area that was decommissioned that they had for a time been using for like a restroom for some other support. I believe that has been shut down entirely for safety purposes, but I will check on that and get back to you. It's not part of the budget numbers? No, sir.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, committee, with that, did I make a motion? Yeah, I already did, so we second that. All in favor, as it's been submitted? All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving right along, we're going to go to the Kansas Highway Patrol. So, did we get those out? Okay, committee, if you have any questions for Kyle, I'll give you a couple more minutes to look this over. One thing I do want to point out in these different projects, we kind of fell behind because we didn't get these recs out prior to our meeting today on the overall Kansas Highway Patrol budget that was out. And the two things I want to note is the $28.8 million for the relocation of the troops CNS to West Salina, and then also the replacement of the southbound Olathe scales that are both in here. And so if there's no questions for Kyle at this point, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion, and then we'll have some discussion. So I'm going to make a motion to recommend KHP CIR for year 26 and 27. However, we're going to take out number 5 on the scale house in that proposal, in that motion, I should say. And with that, can we get a second?
Okay, so I want to make sure you're recommending everything except number 5, the replacement of the scale house.
Right.
And I will second that.
Okay, and with that, committee, we're open for some discussion.
Yes,
That's Representative Lewis.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, since I wasn't at the meeting, last week, I was on the House floor with everybody else. What's the reason for excluding number 5?
We were excluding, and I actually brought that up just after our meeting this morning with the overall budget, looking at that project versus keeping within this moving the building of the 27 request for the relocations of the troops.
I see.
Just to try to offset that number a little bit.
Thank you.
Yes, Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Chairman. And this is mostly just a process question, since I know Highway Patrol has been kicked out in full appropriations and Ways and Means, and not that we're bound by what they do. So we are going ahead and approving everything in here, including the 24.7 million for the Salina reconfiguration.
Yes, except for number 5 on the scale repair replacement.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just a general comment, we're not approving, but we are recommending. That's for the appropriations to take for what it's worth then.
And let me just share this. You know, this past summer, we did visit numerous locations, and I realize right now with the tight budget, there's a lot of requests and from the Hutchison facility that we kind of niched and rebuilding a new facility there. But going to Marymount, there are a lot of different projects and upkeep. And when we think about just, and look at my notes here, the amount for the design of the dispatch center alone, 1.6 million, then it would be another 1.6 million to design Troop C alone. That could actually be combined. And there was a lot of talk about the ability to sell things off. And then I think a number that was floating around was like down the road, another 80 million. And I just felt like we should, and the vice chair as well, have some more conversation. And as we're looking at these projects and being out there, you know, seeing them and the need, this is why I made that recommendation. Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm noting that the funding for the Salina reconfiguration is state general funds, and whereas the funding for the scale house repair and replacement is KHP operations. And so I'm not sure it's doing what.
The offset.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's really making an offset. And I recognize that, it's really important, I think, to start this project that's going to take a number of years to update the scale houses. I know I'm always surprised when I pass by them on the highway to say, really, are they using that scale house? Because they have not been modernized. So what was the intention of the offset, and are we accomplishing that?
And thank you, Senator, for that question. Overall, I mean, we've seen this with other funds, all funds looking at it. It's still part of the overall budget, and it still takes place really to have the conversation and take a deeper dive. Some of these projects that we have, we just kind of fly through them. And I just, like I said, this is a recommendation, and it's something that we'll have more conversation on. I hope that answers your question.
Just.
Yes, follow up.
Thank you. I just think this is an appropriate time for that conversation, and I don't know what we've heard that would make us believe that this wasn't an important step to take. And we've got a lot of trucks on the road. We want to make sure that the weight is what they're, fits with that appropriation. And I think having a scale house makes sense. Are you talking about just delaying this a year, or?
Well, I think it could still be brought back up, Senator. I think the bigger thing here, like I mentioned, in the overall budget, that was left out, and along with the Salina project, but I'm just reintroducing the one that I feel like is of more importance at this moment.
And I agree with you that the Salina reconfiguration is important.
Thank you for that. Yes, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I don't know who this would be a question for, but I feel like this has been a request from the department for quite a few years currently. And I was just going to see if I could get an answer on that, if this is the first time we've seen this request, or if this is a repeat request on the Olathe Scale House.
Kyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So For specifically the southbound Olathe scale house, this is a new request. In the late oddies, there was a study done that recommended replacement of all of these scale houses then. So there may have been one attached associated with that study. Those replacements were never carried out due to financial constraints at the time. So the agency, along with the Department of Transportation, is looking to undertake that now.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This comment is not made towards the Kansas Highway Patrol budget. This is more of a general comment for this committee, I think. And I think we lose track in this committee specifically because we just recommend and don't actually approve. But I feel like this committee rubber stamps a lot. And so we, in my subcommittee on the House side, Transportation Public Safety Budget, you know, the House and Senate are both the goals to cut $200 million this year. And so we had the tough conversations with every agency. And when we make those decisions, we can't approve everything. And so that's occasionally in this committee, I feel like that's kind of what happens is, well, we'll just recommend and move it on to full appropriations. And that's fine. But then when it gets to full appropriations, they read out that this committee approved everything in every agency, and it gets tough to decipher. So just looking at it deeper, I think.
No, I was just looking through because it is not SGF, and it actually for 27 is what they're looking as 4.7 million. But with what was just said from Representative Anderson, I will back that 100%. This committee tends to recommend a lot of stuff, but then it comes down to the other committees are actually doing the final budgets. And I think we need to also respect what they've done.
Okay, so the current motion, you already second, but you're making a comment concerning particularly the scale house, keeping that out and with where we were at.
Right, but I have not changed the motion, though.
Okay, all right, thank you. Committee, I guess the last thing, again, I would say is we do have a lot of big projects, and part of the responsibility of this committee is to go on site, to look, assess, and decide, you know, what's going to be in the best. And when I was thinking about the 80-some million just in rehab, and then having someone that most likely would step to the plate and buy that facility so the troops can move, it would unload, and it could help us down the line where right now some of the facilities that, just like with the Hutchinson facility, correctional facility, was built how many years ago? We see these needs and what it takes for upkeep. And again, that one we niched, but this is one that I would like to at least have one more lap around. And with that, I'm going to, the motion being made and seconded, we're going to go ahead and vote. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carries. And we need to quickly get through this last one. Committee, I hope you're good on time. We got a few more minutes for 1 o'clock. The Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks, if you can get that. I'm going to go ahead and, did you get it? Well, we'll come back to it, my bad. I had it on a different pile. Did we get the fair one out already? You got them both? Okay. Okay, well, if you got them both, let's just go ahead and go to the fair then. We'll get through that. Committee, any questions for Kyle concerning the CIR? 26 or 27? Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to recommend the Kansas State Fair CIR report as it was submitted for FY '26 and '27. Can I get a second? Thank you, Vice Chair. And any discussion? Any more questions? Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So number 3 is the Emergency Command Center, which I'm understanding is no longer being pursued, and there was some discussion about moving some of those ARPA monies to lighting, safety lighting at the fair. So I'm looking at page 3. This was money that was appropriated and I think never spent.
Yeah, actually, yes, Senator. I do recall that conversation. Kyle?
I do believe that's correct, but Luke may have more information as the actual fiscal analyst.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Luke Drury, the Senior Fiscal Analyst. I do work with the State Fair's budget. That is correct. On page 3, that's item number 2, Emergency Command Center. Those monies do show as expended. That is because those monies were encumbered. Encumbrances are counted as expenditures for budgeting purpose. The State Fair has recently sought to, and it is currently the position of the Appropriations Committee and the Committee on Ways and Means to repurpose all remaining ARPA dollars as it relates for an emergency command center to go towards lighting to complete that project on the grounds of the State Fair.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, with that, thank you, Senator, for pointing that out. When I did these, it was before that meeting. So go ahead, Vice Chair.
Okay, due to that information, I would like to rescind or remove my second.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And with that, I will make a new motion to recommend the Kansas State Fair CR without that number 2, given the changes for 26 and 27. Can I get a second?
I will second that.
Okay, any more discussion? Yes, Senator.
So are we making any recommendation about lighting and use of that fund for lighting? I think that was the discussion that was had in the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources when they reviewed the budget, and may have been what the Appropriations and Ways and Means has done. So what they've done is reappropriated that money. It needs to be spent. It's ARPA money. And the idea was that it be spent on lighting at the fair.
And thank you for that. I think based on what has already been done, we just back that out and we just keep with the motion. Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other discussion? Otherwise, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, committee winding up here. I know people got places to go, things to do here. Department of Wildlife and Parks, you got those before you. Any comments or questions for Kyle to start? Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that there may have been some confusion or timing issues with regarding to cabin site development that's on page 3. And I would be interested in continuing an appropriation for cabin site preparation and development in fiscal year 2027.
Okay, well, Senator Francisco, do you want to make a motion on that then, and just in general for the whole thing?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would, if there are no other comments, move the committee recommend the capital improvements report for the Department of Wildlife and Parks for FY '26 and '27 with the addition of $225,000 in other funds. This would not be SGF for cabin site development in FY 2027.
Okay, and Vice Chair seconds that. Any more discussion? Okay, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. And thank you.
Might
Oh, yes.
So as all of you know, we're trying to arrange for a joint meeting between this committee and corrections to discuss the Hutchinson facility, and we've been tentatively scheduled that for last Friday. It didn't work because of scheduling conflicts, and now we're talking about this Friday. That's also become a problem. Stay tuned, but just generally, what do people think about doing it on, it would be the 13th of February? Not committing you to that, but if there's an objection, then
Mr.
I'll,
Representative, is that Friday the 13th?
yeah, that is. Yeah.
Yeah, that works for my schedule.
We've had problems because appropriations and other committees are meeting on Fridays and just conflicts. So I'm going to try to arrange that. I have to check with my own committee. So stay tuned. Yes.
This is the afternoon. I will try to reschedule something, but the other alternative might be a Monday morning if.
That's a possibility. And I wasn't, 1:30 is when my committee meets, so I was thinking about 1:30, but if that's what we'll presumptively move towards on Friday the 13th. And I'll check once again and get back to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and I've already scheduled it, so it works good for us. So just a real quick follow-up before we adjourn. Yes, David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just to follow up on the earlier question on the schools for the blind and deaf and that procurement language that came out of K-12 budget and House appropriations. I did confer with the appropriations staff on some of that language, and it does apply to construction, reconstruction, or remodeling or purchase of goods. So I think it would cover capital improvement projects such as the pool elevator.
Let's call that a pool lift.
Okay, committee, I think that finishes things up for us, and with that, we're adjourned.